Hi guys, and welcome. Today I'm feeling slightly nervous and also excited to share a little pocket of information that may and or may not be true for you. But really I'm just sharing to create a element of awareness because it feels like something that's quite crucial right now and slightly loud. I have my bedroom windows open, so the cockatoos and things may screech, but get yourself comfortable. I'm not going to rush myself through this video. I really want to be able to explain it so as that your logical mind actually can get on board, but so as that we can paint a really beautiful picture energetically, so as that you can take this awareness into your own everyday life with a sense of gentleness and ease, but also honesty and truth internally in your own body as to whether this resonates with you or whether it doesn't. And so some of this is going to bring in my own belief structure around the things that exist in the non-being or the non-subtle realms as far as energies and entities and energy exchange with beings that are not inside of a physical form. And so as a reader, it's really important, as you know, I've spoken deeply about energetic hygiene and where the source of our information comes from. So if it's not just coming specifically from our own inner being or from our field or from the environment, and we actually start to narrow that energy down and we start communicating with spirit, our guides even, we really need to move through a practice and be in a position where we have that level of discernment that the source of the information which we are tuning into is of the light. And when I say of the light, that it comes with no agenda. It really is a pure source that is here for your highest good and the highest good of all. And it's frequency based. So on the other side of the veil, as you know, I spoke about my own experience when the veil was lifted for me, and as a vibrational experience internally, if my body was in absolute panic and fear, I would see energies and entities that were a match to that vibration. And so I went through a very long process through nighttime and my waking life of being psychically attacked by what I would call beings that were not of the light, all different shapes, sizes and forms. And these energies have the ability to dress up as something else that may kind of match a vibrational fear inside of your body. So I need to paint this picture in order to be able to create what it is that I want to speak to today. But in those moments, so say like previously I had like a fear of clowns. So when these energies would stand in front of me, they may present themselves in their original form. But because they see in energy and they read in energy, they know everything about us. They know where our weaknesses lie. They know where our fears are, where our joys are, where our strengths are. They know us as a vibrational being and they can read us. Not because they're more skilled than you, that's just the plane of existence that they're on. And so this language is really easeful for them. They don't have the blocks and the barriers that we do. So they would transform and change, and I would watch them move from their sort of original form into things that I was literally afraid of. And what that would do is create an element of fear inside of my own body, and then we start to actually feel like my aura would fray, or there would be a weakness or an opening, and then the fear, which is the energy that fuels these beings, would get the energy in which they needed to continue functioning and moving on. So it's not something to be afraid of necessarily. It was a very scary experience back there. I kind of see it now where I'm like, if I see those things show up in my life or they kind of merge into my experience, I'm like, thank you for showing me where I have a weakness. And I look at where it is that I've been a vibrational match to that essence, or where I've felt a burst of fear, or where a trauma has arisen that has a vibrational connection to that being that allows for it to match my field in the first place. So when we're in a place of love and peace and calmness, like those experiences that I did have amongst all of that very scary stuff that was happening both in my waking and my sleeping space with sleep paralysis, etc., is that when I could create vibrationally an experience of love and peace internally, those things actually couldn't touch me. But it also meant that I had to remain inside of my being. And so we talk a lot about that, the embodiment. It really is important because we can't be protected unless the spirit is inside of the body. If you want to learn more about that, go find my Foundations of Intuitive Living course. It really teaches us why we feel so uncomfortable about being in the body in the first place, and the necessary practices to actually start to cultivate your spirit internally inside of your body and create an element of safety there, so we can start to listen to this internal guidance that is energy, that is our intuition, open up to those beautiful beings that are here to help support us on this journey and take us down our soul's path. That's a different story. What I want to speak to today is this awareness around ways in which these energies can manipulate us where we might not even be aware that they are around. So as your senses become sharper and you sense these energies around, they can do all sorts of different things internally in your body. Initially, it can feel like fatigue or overwhelm. You might have thoughts inside of your head that don't feel like your own because they can send thought forms and different programs internally. And it can also be just something that we can look at simply today that drains your energy. If we give this energy attention and if we latch onto or allow through permission and will, by connecting to this energy because we believe it is our own, or we merge with it to the point of the vibrational match that it moves inside of our field, we can almost kind of merge with it completely. And it's what I would almost call like entity possession or energy possession. Again, what I want to have a look at today is something that I have noticed become louder in the collective around sin in intimate spaces with clients recently, is that in that space of energy where we can see clairvoyantly, is that what we also imagine we create. And this is really important because we can see energetically that plane of existence that is everywhere all around us right now. I can look into my garden and see the physical garden, and I can look into my garden and see the energetic garden, and it looks very different. There's grids and there's lovely little bees floating around, and there's different lights and colors, and there are patches where I might see portals open and need to close them, and it's a very different looking energetic system. But if I am to create something in my imagination, say I build a pyramid around my home with the intention of protection, and I'm present with this and I'm bringing through the energy through my body to create a structure and foundation of protection, it is literally going to be there. And so our imagination, as our thoughts are too, create pockets of energy that we can see clairvoyantly, but are also existing on the energetic plane that we are susceptible in our physical, mental, and emotional realities also. I want to look at this today with self-pleasure, sex and intimacy with somebody else, but what happens when we are in that space where we are very open and we latch onto a fantasy, we create a fantasy, we think about a specific person that may cause a sense of arousal inside of your system, that you are energetically actually making a connection. And I say this passionately because I've experienced all of this in my own life too. I've had experiences that, not as in energy as in eros and sexual attraction is a weakness, it most definitely isn't, but the trickster energy that I previously spoke of, where entities and beings can dress up as something that they know you desire or someone they know you desire. If you are creating that imagery or that fantasy in a space where you are pleasuring to an experience that you've created inside of your imagination or inside of your mind's eye, and you focus on that energy as though you are in it and you are experiencing it, and you have that energy and that current moving the whole way through your body, and that energy moves into your energetic creation that may initially have been something very pure and very pleasurable, it can put a mask on and step inside of that energy that you are focusing and connecting on, and all of a sudden you've made a direct connection and given permission for an energy and entity that is not of the light to be a part of your body and your being. When an energy like that gets its cords and hooks entangled inside of your energetic system or your chakra system, you have a direct line of connection where now that energy's desires, whether that be literally from the food that you eat to the people you spend your time with to the thought forms that you are having, you are partly being controlled and manipulated by an energy that is not you and not of pure source. And this is not as simple as laying down and asking for cords, hooks, and attachments to be disconnected from your body and being. We actually have to move through a space where we have this discernment as to what it is that we are creating and what we are giving permission to manipulate our field. This goes with our guides and angels and everyone. We must have that discernment cultivated inside of our system. So what I am seeing at the moment is that with this huge expansion in energy and this absolute pleasure and joy that is coming to birth through new projects, to really step and cultivate your own internal power, to be feeling sensations of joy and drive to make this world a better place than what it was before you even arrived, is that creation energy that you want to birth and move into this world can feel very similar to your eros or your sexual energy that moves through your system. So when you are aroused, you feel very open, you feel very turned on by life. The sensations in your body and your being become more heightened. And this is a powerful energy that as human beings, we are manipulated through very, very often and very, very unknowingly. So let this be a creation of awareness that if your body is experiencing deeper sense of arousal at the moment, you feel more turned on, more like your self-pleasure has become something that is, I don't want to say just a little bit more frequent. I feel like it is. There's like almost like an intoxicating energy with some of this sometimes. And that can be a really beautiful thing when it's practiced inside of your own body and being in the space of love and in the space of light. But the moment that you go into that place of stepping outside of your body or fantasizing or watching something, so that might even be like pornography or a memory of someone or something that you've experienced inside of your body, and you bring that back to life, we have to be aware of what we're connecting to. So I can share from a previous experience, and this feels really vulnerable and I want to be mindful. I had an experience with this in my own life. I've learned the hard way where not only have I relived experiences inside of my mind and found myself going, hold on a second, I've just connected to someone's energy and now I need to disconnect because I'm hearing them and I'm feeling them, just like I would if I was physically exchanging any with the energy with them. If you have sex with somebody, you are imprinting each other's souls inside of somebody's being. So we know that inside of this space, we come to a place where we're a little bit more discerning as to who we share our body and our beings with. I don't need to educate you about that. It's pretty simple. If you let someone enter you or you enter somebody else, you are literally exchanging energy. So we must be mindful about that and have enough love and self-respect to be very choosy, I want to say, and particular about who we share that energy with, as it is extremely sacred, but you're also opening yourself up to somebody else's whole world unless you have the tools to completely and utterly clear them out. But sometimes that actually even involves a psychic surgeon. Anyway, this is not to take away the joy from sex and intimacy and self-pleasure. It's to bring in that discernment. So in those experiences, I've also had an experience where I felt somebody else tuning into my own energy, someone I had been intimate with. They were going back and reliving that experience in their own practice, or whatever you want to call that, their self-pleasure, masturbation. And I was becoming aware of that and was seeing images of it happening. And I thought, maybe I'm making this up. Why do I feel odd and strange and like the cords and hooks are coming back in? And in that moment, because there's an energetic connection, I could actually almost feel a sense of arousal inside of my body because of the previous experience was being relived inside of my system. Not yet, because I hadn't given it permission to, but I was aware that it was there, and there was almost a sense of desire because I was feeling and experiencing that person's pleasure as well. I actually contacted this person and asked them to stop. I asked them to stop because it was affecting me. And the moment they did, the moment that finished, and it was happening frequently enough that I was able to observe it clairvoyantly and get really, really sure about what it was that was happening. But this is not just about human beings and your past lovers or people that you would potentially like to spend your time with. In an intimate space. This is about what we do inside of fantasy, or the energies that are there inside of that space, and the person or the being that you may be reminiscing about or creating inside of your imagination, even if you've never met them before, is that trickster energies can interfere and get into these spaces, find your weaknesses, and all of a sudden in that space where you're really open and really, there's a lot of energy moving through your body, they can make a connection. And so it is so important in the space of self-pleasure that we can learn to cultivate a healthy relationship with our sexual desires, our body and our being, but what it is that we're actually doing in there. And this isn't about shaming your sexual experiences or what it is that you're into or what arouses you. It's about bringing in a line of curiosity. Sometimes you might have a curiosity for something that feels really dark or shameful or, would be judged as something that was to this or to that. I'm not about judging these experiences or good or bad. It's the frequency in which we go into them. So I would get curious as to what it is that you are experiencing in that space, where the desire is coming from, and if and when you create that scenario or experience inside of your being, I would invite you to try and remove the imagery or the pictures altogether? Could you create this from more a sensational experience where you are just remaining and staying inside of your body? Not aloof, so not no imagery, but be really, really clear that when you are creating energetically inside of your imagination, you're creating pockets of energy and information. If you don't have the discernment to be able to see, okay, that's of the light, okay, that's not of the light, okay, that's pure, okay, that's not pure, okay, this is coming from my wounding, I'm just reliving this through my experience, then I'm not going to say stop, but I'm going to say get curious. If we can start to get curious, we can neutralize those experiences internally as to where those desires kind of come from. Existential kink is a really beautiful way, mostly, to be able to go in and see these. It's a book. You can listen to her on YouTube. I can't remember her name, but I found it really interesting with my own inner primal nature and my sexual energy, and how there are things that none of it is good or bad or wrong or right. It's the frequency in which we embody when we go into that space. So being extremely sensitive to what goes on in those other planes and not being able to switch off and not wanting to switch off my clairvoyance. I want to have clear discernment when I'm in an intimate experience with myself or with my partner, or previously through self-pleasure, that what I'm connecting to is pure. And that for me ended up being an internal experience where I moved it from fantasy and just inside of my mind to a bodily experience of sensation and enjoying my being as the universe that it is, making sure that my fields and doors and gates and all of the rest of it was sealed over. But if those things were to appear in that space, I'm aware that there is a less than love weakness or a match internally in my body where there is work to be done. So we are very fine-tuned and wired as human beings to be driven by sex, by our desire, by our primal nature, if you will call it, for procreation, and just pleasure. But it's also utilized as a means to tap out, to give our power away, to give our power away. And so what I want to say with all of this is, let this be an awareness experience. Please don't let this shame your experience or your sexual desires. I think it's a really beautiful thing, but there is a responsibility inside of this spiritual journey to really cultivate a healthy relationship with that and your inner being, to bring what is in the shadows into the light, not meaning bad or good, meaning I am aware and I have a choice here, and I am choosing love over not love, and I am choosing love over fear, I'm choosing love over any of these other little funny things. And trauma in the body due to our sexual I want to say lack of education on an energetic plane, but also on a physical one, means that there is a lot of memories through our childhood. There's a lot of self-consciousness in there. There's a lot of bad, good, wrong, right. None of it is that, really. It's just all energy, frequency, and vibration. But the moment that you create an image and a picture and give permission for something else to hook into your field, even energetically, not just physically, you are connected to that being, and it has power over your body and your being then. And so unless you are telepathic, clairaudient, clairvoyant, and all of these things are kind of in place, it's merely impossible to even know if that is something that has come into your field. And so with the awareness and kind of getting curious as to what it is that you are connecting to into that space, or whether you are purely just with your own body and being and with the universe and love and God inside of your own system, I would be curious as to where your mind, your spirit is going to, where it is remaining and staying, and can you cultivate a more purely present experience, not something outside of your body, being present with your breath, being present with your body, being present with the pleasure that you can cultivate inside of your own system in a space of safety and love and peace. Because this is all part of our programming to step into our internal power. Sexual energy is one that comes with great responsibility, because if we are tapping into energies in that space and utilizing sexual energy from a place that is less than love to move through our bodies, our beings, our systems, our creations, all of it, then we're not contributing to this place to make it a better place. We are just reprogramming and doing the same thing over and over again. So we're waking up out of this experiencing, acknowledging the sheer power that sexual energy has over us, but also that it can have to create really beautiful things, literally life, literally projects, literally your, it's it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing, but sex has energetics, pleasure has energetics, desire has energetics. And desire is one of those things, it's not a bad thing. It's okay to have desires, but get curious about what your desires are, or what your fantasies are, or those things you keep behind closed doors that you're connecting to in your private space. It's not really private on the energetic plane. These less than love energies know about this stuff. They know you as an energetic being. They can go into your files and pick out all the things that you're afraid of or scared of. And once they've hooked in, and that energy, and they might appear to be who you think it is, or a memory that you think it is, and in that moment it might feel great, but then after that experience you're like, God, I feel absolutely exhausted, I'm not feeling really well, I'm having all of these strange thoughts and feelings and sensations, I'm actually feeling more disconnected from my body than I was previously, all my creative energy is being drained, I can't get anything done, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling fatigued, I'm feeling really hungry. And then we start the spiral of the sabotage patterns. I know this is a lot, and it's actually like a lot to handle. I don't want to say handle, but it's kind of like a lot of information that from your perspective, just let it float by if it's really something that doesn't resonate with you. If you are at a place where this is something that feels important, sex has become something that's more sacred, your pleasure has become something that is more sacred. It's not about going into that place with fear, it's about going into that place with awareness. So if anything, bring presence and love into your self-pleasure practice or your intimate experiences with other. We do need to be mindful about who we share that energy with. It is really, really sacred. It can literally create worlds. But we got to be mindful as to what we let into that space. Your aura expands really, really big when you're in that sensation where everything is swirling and twirling. And sex can be the most beautiful thing. Self-pleasure can be the most amazing thing. And that's changed for me in this like long-term partnership. There's been a lot of learning with that, the telepathy, the pictures, the images, the exchanges, the cords and hooks, the things that are about. But right now I'm seeing these kind of creepy looking sexual energies that are attaching to people's expansion as a means of self-sabotaging you and your experience. So we want to be greater than this, but we also want to, not greater than as even as in better than, we just want to have that awareness, because I don't want this to sabotage what it is that's been downloaded into your body and your being, to take you on a track that's not necessary. So if you have that awareness, go about it with like a sense of peace and ease and joy. If you want to talk about this more, because this is something that has been occurring, or you have a slight awareness and this has put words to your experience, I'm happy to focus on these things in one-on-one session. It's not something that I feel like sharing anything more than in a space where this is really open and for the whole world to see. I feel like these things need to be discussed, worked at and looked at with precision and safety and specificity for your own experience too. Anything else we need to add here? They're just saying like question your desires, question your arousal. And if that's not happening for you at all, so it's like almost the complete opposite, you're feeling like, I want to say like dry down there, or you're feeling like a non-turn on, the invitation would be to come back into your body and back into those centers where that energy is cultivated from. So if you're just living with your spirit into this much of your body and your being, then you're not going to be feeling this energy. There's no energy to give that part of your body and your being. So we want to imagine that the spirit is the whole way from, as I say all the time, top of your head all the way to the bottom of your base, your feet, and connected into your earth star chakra that's beneath your feet. It's an energy that is cultivated. It's not something we actually need from other. And that's where your mastery starts to come from. When these things that we think, oh no, it doesn't really mean anything. It does. It really, really does. So do the people in which you are intimate with. And that's important. And this is a year where we are really cleanly looking at where we've been giving our power away, where we've been using other as an excuse to not look at our own internal being. The postman is here, so I'm going to go before my dogs start barking. Take this with a grain of salt, or embrace it as a new pocket of awareness to really journey through in a beautiful, loving, kind, and compassionate way. I love you very much. Thank you for hearing me. We will talk soon. The House of Mystics is underway. I am doing I want to say like the dry stuff for me, so more like the mechanical side of things with the website and where the applications and enrollment and stuff can all start to come through. But I really want to make this available for everybody. We're going to be going into these sorts of more taboo topics that I haven't really felt comfortable to talk about on my own internal platform, ways to be able to open up clairvoyance, to hear telepathically, to feel clairsentiently, to know claircognitely, to experience the fullness of our being as an energetic being. A mystic is somebody that translates the language of the universe, and it's not a special thing. It's not even a gift. I mean, it is, because you work to get to that place, and it's the beauty of truth. And so we are going to look at all of this in depth. We're going to strengthen all these parts of our body and our being so that we can have this line of discernment. Everybody is able to channel, everybody is able to read, everybody is able to communicate with the energy of language, which is the universal language of love, and it speaks truth. I'm so passionate right now. There is so much energy coming through, not only for me, but I'm feeling it all for you. So keep your feet on the ground. Yeah, go gently, easefully, gracefully. I love you all. Leave your comments, your feedback. I'm okay for disagree. I really am. I'm totally open for conversation. As I said, my experience may be different to yours. I had some confirmation that a couple of other friends that are highly sensitive and very tuned in have experienced similar things in the last week. And just really sharpening that discernment and being really mindful of spiritual hygiene has been really important through this element of expansion. I love you very much. Have a beautiful day.